This rally is not driven by optimism, it is fueled by fear. Fear of instability, fear of rising debt, and fear of what's next in global politics. From the government shutdown in the US to political chaos in Europe and Japan, investors are pulling away from major currencies. They're moving their money into what they see as safer bets, assets like gold, silver, and Bitcoin. Central banks too are buying more gold. So is this a short-term reaction or the beginning of a long-term shift? That's our lead story for tonight. Also on the show, UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer is visiting India. We'll tell you what to expect. The key takeaways from Trump's meeting with Canada's Prime Minister Mark Carney. Exiled leaders are returning to Bangladesh as the country gears up for polls. Cristiano Ronaldo has become the first billionaire footballer. And what drives happiness through your adulthood? All this and much more coming up. But first, the headlines.
US President Donald Trump calls for jailing the mayor of Chicago and the governor of Illinois in an escalation of his attacks on political opponents. The Democratic leaders have opposed Trump's order for Immigration and Customs Enforcement or ICE agents to conduct aggressive raids in Chicago. France's far-right leader Marine Le Pen says she would thwart all action by any new government. This throws into doubt the government's ability to solve the country's deepening political crisis with a coalition cabinet. France has been mired in political deadlock ever since Macron took the gamble last year to call for snap elections. India's Defence Minister Rajnath Singh begins his two-day visit to Australia. The focus will be on boosting defence and strategic ties between the two countries. This is the first visit by an Indian Defence Minister to Australia since the Narendra Modi government came to power in 2014. Protesters in Madagascar refused to meet the president and have instead called for a strike. Near-daily protests erupted in the Indian Ocean island last month. The unrest has killed more than 20 people. The president sacked his entire government and appointed an army general as the new prime minister in a bid to pacify the protesters. And 3 scientists win the Nobel Prize for Chemistry for their work developing metal organic frameworks whose multiple uses include capturing carbon dioxide and harvesting water from desert air. They were honored for their groundbreaking discoveries dating from the late 1980s to the early 2000s.
Gold and Bitcoin are witnessing a massive rally. Both assets have hit record highs in recent days. Usually, a rally like this is reason to cheer. Traders like to call it a bull run, but that's not the case this time. This rally is fueled not by bullish sentiments, but by fear. Yes, fear is driving the surge in gold and Bitcoin. They are seen as safe haven assets amid global uncertainty. Gold has held the status for decades now, but Bitcoin is earning the same reputation. Like I said, this is a rally fueled by fear. Investors are not looking for momentum, they are seeking safety. And here's what's weighing on their minds. In America, investors are worried about government shutdowns. In Europe, the French government is in chaos. The Prime Minister's office has become a revolving door. French stocks fell after the recent government collapse. Even the euro is feeling the pressure. A similar situation is playing out in Japan. On Monday, Sanae Takaishi was named the country's new Prime Minister. Japan's yen witnessed the fallout. The currency's value has tumbled. These headlines are from the past few days. Investors are watching them closely. They all point to one thing that investors fear most: uncertainty. Markets don't like uncertainty because you can't plan long-term investments when policies keep shifting. They make the investing climate more risky. Therefore, the rush toward assets like gold and Bitcoin. Now, is this a temporary phase, or is it a long-term trend that is shaping up? Some signs are emerging. Investors want to protect their investment. They want to reduce risk. It seems that they are preparing for the long haul. Two trends point toward this. First, the pivot away from the dollar. The greenbacks has been losing its value this year. The dollar has lost 10% of its value. So investors are moving toward gold, silver, and Bitcoin. As the dollar's value has dropped, the demand for these assets has shot up. Now, this is especially true for the central banks, and here is some data from August in that month. Now, the central banks bought 15 metric tons of gold. China's central bank has been among the major buyers. Last month, it bought 40,000 ounces of gold. How much gold does China have in its reserves? Over 74 million ounces. Now, how much is that worth? It's well above $280 billion. Remember, China is the world's second largest economy. It also has significant holdings of US government debt. So the gold stockpile is clearly a hedge, a way to reduce dependence on the American dollar. China is not giving up entirely on the greenback, but like many others, it's looking to diversify, and investors are taking notice. So that's the first trend. The second factor at play is rising debt. Debt levels are up, and they are shaking global markets, and they are driving what's now being called the debasement trade. Now, that's when investors start moving away from traditional currencies and shift their money into alternative assets like Bitcoin and like gold and like silver. Now, why is this happening now? Because some of the world's biggest economies are drowning in debt. The US, Japan, and much of Europe, governments are struggling to manage their finances, and that is weakening confidence in their currencies. So investors are looking elsewhere. They want stability, and they're finding it in assets that can't be printed or inflated away. According to the UN, global public debt hit $102 trillion in 2024. That's up from $97 trillion the year before. It's the highest ever recorded, and it's forcing investors to think differently. So these are the two key factors: a pivot away from the US dollar and rising global debt levels. These are not temporary risks. They point to something more structural. More importantly, they are shaping a long-term trend within the markets. Markets are watching closely because the risks aren't just rising. They may already be here, and the system is beginning to respond. Keir Starmer has come to India with an army. Don't worry, we don't mean a literal army. We're talking about an army-like delegation. Starmer has reached India with 125 CEOs, entrepreneurs, and trade experts. It's the largest British team to ever visit India, and Starmer is not traveling to the capital, New Delhi. He is only in Mumbai for 2 days. And that tells you what his focus is. Starmer is in India to boost trade relations. India and the UK sealed a free trade deal in July. Both countries are in the process of ratifying that deal. The hope is to implement it by early 2026. So Starmer is in Mumbai to speed things up. He posted a video with his massive delegation before leaving London. Take a look. Prime Minister Modi posted a welcome message for Starmer. He called the visit a historic one. India's Foreign Ministry also welcomed the British Prime Minister. It said that the visit marked a new chapter in ties. In Mumbai, Starmer received a traditional welcome. After that, Starmer got down to business. First, he interacted with the business community in Mumbai. Starmer focused on the new free trade deal. He called it London's biggest agreement after Brexit.
That FTA is really important for us. It's the biggest deal that we've struck since we left the EU, and I think it's the biggest deal that India has ever struck, so hugely important.
Business done, Starmer turned to films. He visited a famous Bollywood studio based in Mumbai. It's called YRF, or Yash Raj Films. At the studio, Starmer met with Bollywood actress Rani Mukherjee, and he also watched a private screening. Afterwards, YRF and the UK government announced a pact. The studio said it would make 3 movies in the UK. It's a symbolic moment for YRF. Some of their iconic movies were shot in the UK. So, many years later, they are returning to the country. After visiting YRF, Starmer also got a taste of football. Mumbai is hosting a week-long Premier League event this week. England player Michael Owen is in the city with the trophy, and Starmer got up close with it. As busy as today was, tomorrow is the big day, because Prime Minister Modi will be meeting Keir Starmer tomorrow, and they will also address the Global FinTech Summit. This trip is actually a return visit. Prime Minister Modi was in the UK in July for the trade deal, so Starmer is now in India for the return leg. As we said, his big goal is to expand trade opportunities. The free trade deal has already set the ground for that. As things stand, the bilateral trade is $56 billion. The FTA is expected to add $34 billion annually. The hope is to reach $120 billion in trade by the year 2030. How? By reducing barriers like tariffs. The UK will remove tariffs on 99% of Indian exports. India will cut tariffs on 64% of British exports. Lower tariffs will boost exports, and more exports will boost output. Now that's the expectation on both sides, but more so on the British side. Just look at the size of Starmer's delegation. He has brought executives from major British companies like Rolls-Royce, British Airways, Standard Chartered and Barclays. So the larger message is clear. Starmer is desperate to push things on. The question is, why? Well, there are 2 reasons for it. 1, to score some political points. Starmer is facing serious trouble back home. Polls found that only 22% of Britons view him favourably. His economic policies are especially unpopular, so Starmer needs a win, which is why he is turning to India. Investment pledged from Indian companies could work in his favour. And secondly, Starmer wants the first mover advantage, because India is negotiating with everyone. A deal with the European Union is expected later this year. A deal with the United States is being discussed. So Britain faces stiff competition. If they can implement this deal fast, they will have the initial advantage. Any delay will cede space to other players. How that plays out will depend on the talks tomorrow, and we'll be tracking things closely. What do you need before walking into the Oval Office? The obvious answer would be a serious agenda. But in Trump's White House, things are a little different. Of course, you still have the agenda, but you need to be armed with other things as well, like flattery and a red tie. Ask Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney. Last night, he arrived for a meeting with Donald Trump. Tensions have been escalating between the two neighbours. Trump has imposed tariffs on Ottawa, and Carney has vowed to fight it. But at the White House, all he was fighting was a chance to praise Trump every second.
Amazing. I would just say, amazing. Red for you.
So Carney arrived in a red tie, a Trump staple. But ironically, Trump was wearing blue. It was the perfect metaphor for the meeting that followed. All charm and choreography, but no clear chemistry. Before politics, Carney was a central banker, the calm in every financial storm. He earned how to manage the markets and egos, but that did not prepare him for Trump. So Carney stuck to the basics. Flatter Trump, praise his transformative leadership, and echo his foreign policy talking points.
If I may, you kindly hosted me and some of my colleagues a few months ago, and I said at the time, you are a transformative president. And since then, the transformation in the economy, unprecedented commitments of NATO partners to defense spending, peace from India, Pakistan through to Azerbaijan, Armenia, disabling Iran as a force of terror, and now, and I'm running out of time, but this is in many respects the most important.
For anyone who follows South Asian diplomacy, that was pure fiction. But in the Oval Office, it landed like poetry. For months, Trump had been boasting that he personally brokered peace between India and Pakistan. This is despite India's repeated denials. New Delhi has made it clear there was no third-party mediation. But Carney wasn't fact-checking. He was flattering.
There are areas, as the President just said, where conflict, maybe not so much conflict, we compete. There are areas where we compete, and it's in those areas where we have to come to an agreement that works. But there are more areas where we are stronger together, and that's what we're focused on. And we're going to get the right deal for America, right deal, obviously, from my perspective, for Canada.
But behind the smiles, Carney's mission was serious. Trump's tariffs were biting hard. There's a 35% tariff on imports, a fresh 25% on trucks, and an ongoing threat to rip up the North American trade deal entirely. Canada was the only G7 country still without a reprieve. Carney wanted breathing room. But Trump loves leverage, and tariffs were his favorite tool. There were even some compliments thrown.
Is there anything that the Prime Minister has done that's making it more difficult or easier to reach a deal?
No, I think he's a great Prime Minister. I mean, he could represent me anytime. I will tell you, I'm not saying that because he is a very strong, very good leader. He's a nice man, but he could be nasty. He could be very nasty, maybe as nasty as anybody.
But beyond all of this, what did Canada actually get? On paper, almost nothing. No tariff rollback, no trade deal, and absolutely no guarantees. But in practice, he got something that very few others managed: Donald Trump's goodwill. Trump called him a great man, which, coming from the US president, is a big deal. More importantly, Canada stayed off the firing line. There were no angry posts on X or name-calling. Instead, Carney got a handshake, laughs, and the faint promise of a deal. For a country whose economy depends on American markets, that was worth its weight in diplomacy.
So then what's holding things up? If he's a great man and you want to do a deal with Canada, why aren't you?
Because I want to be a great man, too. Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody. That could have been.
So, was the charm offensive successful? Economically, not yet. Politically, probably. But psychologically, absolutely. Carney didn't outsmart Trump, he just outlasted him. He realized what many hadn't. In Trump's world, flattery is the currency, and survival is success. He walked into the White House with a red tie, a calm smile, and a plan. And he walked out without a bruise. In today's geopolitics, that might be the best deal Canada is going to get. Our next story is from the world of aviation. For nearly 40 years, two giants have ruled the skies, one from America, the other from Europe. Boeing and Airbus have been locked in a rivalry that has shaped global aviation. Every airport, every airline, and every traveler has felt their competition. And now that race has a new leader. Europe's Airbus has just overtaken Boeing to claim the crown. Its A320 family of jets has become the most delivered jetliner in history. This isn't just about numbers, it's about a shift in the sky, where Europe now flies higher than America. Here's how Airbus flew past Boeing.
It's official now. A 40-year race has a new winner. Europe's Airbus has just flown past its American rival, Boeing. The A320 family is now the most delivered jetliner in aviation history. The record was broken when Airbus handed over a gleaming A320neo to Saudi carrier Flynas on Tuesday. That delivery reportedly brought total A320s to 12,260 since the jet first entered service in 1988. For the first time, Boeing's 737 no longer leads the skies. Together, Airbus and Boeing have reportedly built nearly 25,000 of these jets. For decades, these jets have carried billions of passengers across continents. Their rivalry defined the modern era of aviation. And today, that story has a new chapter. Led by Airbus, a victory 4 decades in the making. Back in the 1980s, Airbus was the underdog. Few believed it could ever rival Boeing. Then came the A320, a bold experiment with fly-by-wire controls. Computers replaced the traditional cables. Pilots initially resisted it, and airlines hesitated. But it changed aviation forever. Soon, the A320 became the world's short-haul workhorse. When low-cost airlines took off, Airbus was ready. The A320s became their perfect aircraft, efficient, reliable, and easy to operate. When Boeing slowed its production after September 11th, Airbus doubled down. That one decision changed the balance of power. Fast forward to now, Airbus is delivering faster than ever. In September alone, it has reportedly handed over 73 aircraft. This is the company's strongest September on record. Its engine shortages are easing and production is rising. The European plane maker is targeting 820 jet deliveries this year, and it's expanding fast. A new assembly line opens this month in Alabama. Another will open days later in Tianjin, China. Meanwhile, Boeing's wings have been clipped. The American plane maker is still reeling from its 737 MAX crisis. 2 fatal crashes in 2018 and 2019 shattered its reputation. Then came the January 2024 Alaska Airlines mid-air emergency. A cabin panel blew out mid-flight on another 737 jet. The U.S. found hundreds of quality control violations at Boeing's 737 plant and its supplier. Production of the 737 MAX has since been capped at 38 aircraft a month. And in June 2025, a crash involving an Air India Boeing 787 put its safety record back under the spotlight. The American plane maker now carries about $50 billion in debt. Besides, President Donald Trump's trade policies have only added to the turbulence. He has linked Boeing jet sales to his trade diplomacy. But the problems inside the U.S. plane maker run far deeper than trade. Across the Atlantic, the picture is very different. Airbus has won more orders in recent years. Since 2020, it has reportedly held over 4,500 net orders for its A320neo family. Boeing trails with reportedly about 3,300 orders for the 737 MAX. So, here we are. A rivalry that began in the 1980s has reached a turning point. Airbus is at its strongest in history. Boeing is still in recovery mode, but the once undisputed leader of the jet age is now facing a long climb back. And for now, the skies belong to Airbus.
is News 18 Network. India's largest news network.
Bombay High Court has asked actor Shilpa Shetty and her husband Raj Kundra to first deposit 60 crore rupees if they want to travel to Los Angeles and other foreign countries. Remember, this comes after the couple moved the High Court seeking quashing of a lookout circular issued against them over a FIR related to alleged 60 crore rupees fraud. Now, the High Court, the Bombay High Court, taking a very stern view and asking the couple, actor Shilpa Shetty and her husband Raj Kundra, to first deposit 60 crore rupees if they want permission to travel to any foreign country. Remember, the couple had moved the Bombay High Court seeking quashing of the lookout circular against them in the case where they allegedly defrauded 60 crore rupees. Mayuresh now joins us for more on this. Mayuresh, a huge setback for Shilpa Shetty and Raj Kundra. The Bombay High Court taking a very stern view and not giving any relief, saying that they have to deposit 60 crore rupees if they intend to travel abroad.
Absolutely, because they had approached Bombay High Court with the anticipation that they will get some kind of relief from the Apex Court. But now Bombay High Court has asked them that if they have to travel abroad, then they have to basically deposit the 60 crore amount to the court as a surety, or we can say the security deposit, and then only they can go abroad and do their professional work or whatever the commitments they have got. But now it will be interesting to see that what Shilpa Shetty and Raj Kundra do next, whether they deposit that amount or not, or whether they move to the Apex Court or what, that needs to be seen.
Mayuresh, in fact, in cases of this nature, we usually see a lot of argument on the flight risk that is there when somebody approaches the court seeking permission to travel abroad. But looks like the Bombay High Court wants to ensure that the 60 crore rupees is first deposited before they travel, and that's the amount that is allegedly that has been defrauded by the couple.
Absolutely, because as I said, that whenever anyone moves to the High Court or the Apex Court, there is a kind of a sense that they may get some kind of a relief in that matter, and with that aim only the Kundra and Shilpa Shetty had moved to Bombay High Court, because they are in their plea, they have mentioned that they have some prior commitments, and for that they have to travel to abroad. But here the court has taken a very serious case, and they have exactly asked them that first you deposit the 60 crore rupees, and then only we will allow you to go abroad, and whatever the commitments you have, you can fulfill.
In fact, Arunama is also now joining us for more on this. Arunama, we usually see a lot of debate on whether there is a flight risk whenever somebody approaches a court in a matter of this nature. But in this one, the Bombay High Court making it very clear that the couple needs to deposit the money if they intend to travel abroad. Does it now also give a huge boost to the investigating agencies looking into this case now?
Yes, this was a lookout circular which had said that, if they had to travel abroad, the agencies at the immigration point will have to detain them as per this lookout circular. This is a 60 crore fraud case that we're looking at, but there's also a parallel investigation that is going on in the Bitcoin case by the Enforcement Directorate, and in that too, prosecution complaint has been filed by the ED against Raj Kundra. Shilpa Shetty's role too has been mentioned. We'll have to wait and see if the court treats her as an accused in that case or not. But together, these two cases is building up, two separate agencies finding evidence to show prima facie financial fraud or money laundering in the case of ED definitely doesn't augur well. And the fact that they moved a High Court-like platform and could not convince the judge about their intention, because Shilpa Shetty argued that she was an actor, there were professional commitments for which she needed to travel abroad frequently. Raj Kundra also had business, he was a businessman, so he has business commitments. But looks like none of those arguments have cut ice with the Bombay High Court.
Arunama, what are the legal options before the couple now? Can they move to Supreme Court? And with this kind of a stringent observation or order by the Bombay High Court, beg your pardon, is there any likelihood of any relief even from the Supreme Court?
See, they have two options. A, they can, if they are really in a rush and if this commitment to go abroad, I think Los Angeles is where they wanted to travel to. Also, Phuket in Thailand is something that came up earlier. So, if this commitment is so grave that they have to meet up, one option, perhaps their lawyers can advise them, is to pay up and get the nod of the Bombay High Court. The other one, like you said, is to approach the Supreme Court in appeal against the Bombay High Court order. But is this such a case of life and death that the Supreme Court will give them an immediate hearing, let alone relief? Or if there is a process of listing the case up first, that could take some time, then issuing notice and then deciding whether the case deserves any kind of relief or not. So depending on the timeline that the actor businessman couple are looking at, perhaps their legal team will advise on any of these two routes.
Absolutely. Stay with us, Poonima. We also have Ananya Bhatnagar joining us now. Ananya, we've usually seen criticism coming in where people say that the judiciary usually goes a bit soft on celebrities, but in this case,
Now let's talk about India and Afghanistan. This week, the Taliban's Foreign Minister Amir Khan Muttaqi is visiting New Delhi. It's the first time a leader from the Taliban regime is visiting India after the fall of Kabul in 2021. Ahead of this visit, India has made a big move. It joined rivals like China and Pakistan and opposed Donald Trump and the US. This happened yesterday in Moscow. Now, this story is about Afghanistan's Bagram Air Base. Donald Trump wants it back. He had made the demand last month.
President, what goes into retaking Bagram? Does that require boots on the ground?
We'll see what happens with Bagram. We're talking to Afghanistan. It should have never been given up. It was the most embarrassing day in the history of our country. There was no reason to give it up. I was leaving Afghanistan. I was leaving. I was the one that got it down to 5,000 soldiers, but we were going to keep Bagram, the air base.
This demand was discussed yesterday in Moscow. Officials from 10 countries were present. This included Pakistan, Iran, China, Afghanistan, and the 5 Central Asian countries. At this meeting, a joint statement was issued. It mentions Trump's demand for Bagram. The statement sends an unambiguous message to the US president. Foreign military bases in Afghanistan are unacceptable. India endorsed this position, alongside China, Pakistan, the Taliban, and others. Now, this may not sit well with Trump. He has made public appeals on more than one occasion because Bagram is strategically significant. It is Afghanistan's largest airbase. It served as the backbone of America's military when they were fighting the Taliban there. Trump claims this base was given away to the Taliban and that it should be returned to the US. Bad things are going to happen. That's the warning Trump had issued if Bagram is not returned to the US. The Taliban had rejected the idea.
Lately, there have been noises from some people suggesting that we are in talks and negotiations with the Islamic Emirate of Afghanistan to retake Bagram airfield, and that we are supposedly engaging and, unable to use force, want to use political engagement to regain this area. To our dear compatriots, to the people of Afghanistan, to the Muslim people of Afghanistan, we assure you that we will not negotiate away even an inch of our soil. That is something that is impossible and cannot happen.
Now, India has quietly backed that position too. So what's happening here? There's no grand realignment. India is not choosing the Taliban over the West. India's national interests are guiding its engagements with the Taliban. Remember, India hasn't formally recognized the Taliban regime, but the outreach is growing. So what objectives India is trying to achieve by engaging the Taliban? New Delhi is the first priority is tackling terrorism. Afghanistan's territory still remains unstable. Groups like the Islamic State, the Khorasan, have grown more active. Tehrik-e-Taliban Pakistan has also used Afghan soil for attacks. India is asking for clear guarantees. It wants to make sure its security won't be put at risk. and that Afghan soil won't be used to launch terror attacks. The dialogue with the Taliban is critical to secure those outcomes. The second priority is connectivity. India has invested in the Chabahar port in Iran. It is a vital trade route. It connects India to Afghanistan and Central Asia. But US sanctions on Iran have complicated this project. Washington recently withdrew India's waiver for Chabahar, but the Taliban has shown interest in Chabahar. They want to use it for regional trade. This gives an opening to New Delhi to keep the project alive. So, if India wants, it can let pragmatism guide its engagement with the Taliban. But New Delhi is more likely to be cautious. As of today, only Russia has recognized the Taliban regime. Plus, India has a complicated history with the Taliban. The regime has a long history of protecting Pakistan-based terrorist groups. So yes, India may have backed the Taliban on Bagram, but that support is limited and conditional. Amir Khan Muttaqi is expected to arrive tomorrow. His visit will reveal how far both sides are willing to go for now. Big changes are unfolding in Bangladesh. The country is preparing for its first elections after Sheikh Hasina's ouster. Several politicians have been barred from contesting. Plus, an exiled leader is all set to return. How free and fair will this election truly be? And even as it prepares to hand over power, the interim regime is making big moves. Reports say it is considering the purchase of fighter jets from China. Which planes are they looking at? And how will it affect India? Our next report tells you more.
In a tense period in Bangladesh, the country is just months away from the February polls. Mohammed Yunus's interim regime has promised free and fair elections, but on the ground, things are playing out differently. The interim government has announced the new rule for the election. If you have been charged by Dhaka's International Crimes Tribunal, you cannot contest elections. Emphasis on charged, not convicted. Top lawyers in the country have spoken out against this rule. They say it violates the basic principle of justice, that a person is innocent until proven guilty. Then why is the interim regime pushing for it? Most likely to corner leaders of Sheikh Hasina's party, the Awami League. Yunus has already banned the party from elections, but its leader had the option of contesting independently or from a different party. This rule would shut that avenue, because dozens of Awami leaders, including Hasina, have been charged by the ICT, meaning they are barred from the election. While the Awami League suffers, all eyes are on the Bangladesh Nationalist Party, or the BNP. Its de facto leader, Tariq Rehman, lives in exile in London, but maybe not for long. Rehman says he plans to return to Bangladesh and lead his party in the elections. If the BNP wins, he is likely to be the Prime Minister. Amid all this political build-up, you would expect the Yunus regime to take a step back, to hold fort until an elected government takes over. But not Yunus. His government is reportedly weighing a big-ticket military sale from China. On the table are China's J-10 jets. These are fourth-generation planes also used by Pakistan. Reports say Dhaka is in talks to buy at least 20 of them. Such a deal would significantly upgrade Dhaka's military capabilities. But more importantly, it would deepen their ties with China. Ideally, such long-term calls should be taken by an elected government, but restraint was never Yunus's strong suit. On this side of the border, India continues to engage with Dhaka. This week, the Indian Foreign Secretary met with journalists from Bangladesh. He was asked about a wide range of issues, like what are India's hopes from the election in February.
India remains in favor of and we look forward to the earliest possible elections in Bangladesh, free, fair, participatory and inclusive elections. And we remain ready to deal with any government that emerges from these elections with a popular mandate.
And why doesn't India hand over Sheikh Hasina?
All I will say is that this is a judicial and legal process. It requires engagement and consultations between the two governments. We are examining this issue, and we look forward to working together with the Bangladesh authorities.
The Foreign Secretary is right about that. This election is one of global importance, because the BNP isn't the only party in the fray. The radical, once banned, Jamaat is also making a comeback. A group that once supported Pakistan's genocide in 1971 will now contest elections. Also at play are regional equations. Will the new government reset relations with India? Will they double down on Yunus's pivot to China? And will they forgive Pakistan and embark on a reset? All will be answered in February.
Imagine this. You pay $440,000 for a report. It is meant to guide how your country penalizes unemployed citizens who miss welfare obligations. You expect data, detail, and due diligence. The kind of work only an army of analysts can deliver. Instead, you get hallucinations. AI hallucinations. Now that's exactly what happened when Deloitte delivered a report to Australia's Department of Employment and Workplace Relations. The document was so error-ridden, it had to be republished. It cited non-existent research papers. There were examples of made-up court cases. Reports even found mentions of fake professors. The main report was uploaded on the 4th of July. It was then re-uploaded to the Adua website last week. This is after the Australian Financial Review reported that errors were found. And here's the twist. Deloitte didn't deny using AI. In the updated report, the firm quietly admitted this. It said it had used OpenAI's ChatGPT 4.0 model through Microsoft Azure. Deloitte also agreed to refund part of the money, a token gesture for the troubles. But Deloitte isn't the only one. More and more consultancy firms are outsourcing thinking to AI. Last year, Australia's Senate published reform suggestions. This was based on case studies that never existed. They were using Google's Bard AI, which hallucinated. Now that somehow made their way into an official document. The Senate had to issue a public apology. Across the Pacific, McKinsey was embroiled in something similar. It released a healthcare impact report that miscalculated patient risks. And that's because an AI model synthesized faulty data. Entire sections had to be retracted. And it's not just firms. Governments haven't fared better. The UK Home Office had suspended its AI visa assessment system, and this after it began exhibiting bias so severe it might as well have been called robo-racism. Also in the Netherlands, an algorithm meant to detect welfare fraud falsely accused thousands of innocent families, and the scandal was so devastating it led to the Dutch government's resignation in 2021. So this has become a big problem, because every consultant's favorite word is due diligence. Ironically, it's also the first thing they seem to skip when it comes to AI. It's not because they're lazy. It's because the consulting industry's business model rewards speed over accuracy. Think about it. Big firms make money by selling insights faster than their competitors. AI makes that possible. So the temptation to use it is always there. And let's be honest, Deloitte refunding a few $100,000 doesn't change much. The clients will still hire them. The cycle will continue because what they're really buying isn't accuracy. It's a reputation insurance. Hiring Deloitte or McKinsey signals that you're serious about governance, even if the work itself was generated by a chatbot. Until accountability becomes as important as branding, AI will keep writing reports that no one reads until it's too late.
This is News 18 Network. India's largest news network.
Bombay High Court has asked actor Shilpa Shetty and her husband Raj Kundra to first deposit 60 crore rupees if they want to travel to Los Angeles and other foreign countries. Remember, this comes after the couple moved the High Court seeking quashing of a lookout circular issued against them over a FIR related to alleged 60 crore rupees fraud. Now, the High Court, the Bombay High Court, taking a very stern view and asking the couple, actor Shilpa Shetty and her husband Raj Kundra, to first deposit 60 crore rupees if they want permission to travel to any foreign country. Remember, the couple had moved the Bombay High Court seeking quashing of the lookout circular against them in the case where they allegedly defrauded 60 crore rupees. Mayuresh now joins us for more on this. Mayuresh, a huge setback for Shilpa Shetty and Raj Kundra. The Bombay High Court taking a very stern view and not giving any relief, saying that they have to deposit 60 crore rupees if they intend to travel abroad.
Absolutely, because they had approached Bombay High Court with the anticipation that they will get some kind of relief from the Apex Court. But now Bombay High Court has asked them that if they have to travel abroad, then they have to basically deposit the 60 crore amount to the court as a surety, or we can say the security deposit, and then only they can go abroad and do their professional work or whatever the commitments they have got. But now it will be interesting to see that what Shilpa Shetty and Raj Kundra do next, whether they deposit that amount or not, or whether they move to the Apex Court or what. That needs to be seen.
Mayuresh, in fact, in cases of this nature, we usually see a lot of argument on the flight risk that is there when somebody approaches the court seeking permission to travel abroad. But looks like the Bombay High Court wants to ensure that the 60 crore rupees is first deposited before they travel, and that's the amount that is allegedly that has been defrauded by the couple.
Absolutely, because as I said, that whenever anyone moves to the High Court or the Apex Court, there is a kind of a sense that they may get some kind of a relief in that matter, and with that aim only the Kundra and Shilpa Shetty had moved to Bombay High Court, because they are in their plea, they have mentioned that they have some prior commitments, and for that they have to travel to abroad. But here the court has taken a very serious case, and they have exactly asked them that first you deposit the 60 crore rupees, and then only we will allow you to go abroad, and whatever the commitments you have, you can fulfill.
In fact, Arunama is also now joining us for more on this. Arunama, we usually see a lot of debate on whether there is a flight risk whenever somebody approaches a court in a matter of this nature. But in this one, the Bombay High Court making it very clear that the couple needs to deposit the money if they intend to travel abroad. Does it now also give a huge boost to the investigating agencies looking into this case now?
Yes, this was a lookout circular which had said that, if they had to travel abroad, the agencies at the immigration point will have to detain them as per this lookout circular. This is a 60 crore fraud case that we're looking at, but there's also a parallel investigation that is going on in the Bitcoin case by the Enforcement Directorate, and in that too, prosecution complaint has been filed by the ED against Raj Kundra. Shilpa Shetty's role too has been mentioned. We'll have to wait and see if the court treats her as an accused in that case or not. But together, these two cases is building up. Two separate agencies finding evidence to show prima facie financial fraud or money laundering in the case of ED definitely doesn't augur well. And the fact that they moved a High Court-like platform and could not convince the judge about their intention, because Shilpa Shetty argued that she was an actor, there were professional commitments for which she needed to travel abroad frequently. Raj Kundra also had business, he was a businessman, so he has business commitments. But looks like none of those arguments have cut ice with the Bombay High Court.
Arunima, what are the legal options before the couple now? Can they move to Supreme Court? And with this kind of a stringent observation or order by the Bombay High Court, beg your pardon, is there any likelihood of any relief even from the Supreme Court?
See, they have two options. A, they can, if they are really in a rush and if this commitment to go abroad, I think Los Angeles is where they wanted to travel to. Also, Phuket in Thailand is something that came up earlier. So, if this commitment is so grave that they have to meet up, one option, perhaps their lawyers can advise them, is to pay up and get the nod of the Bombay High Court. The other one, like you said, is to approach the Supreme Court in appeal against the Bombay High Court order. But is this such a case of life and death that the Supreme Court will give them an immediate hearing, let alone relief? Or if there is a process of listing the case up first, that could take some time, then issuing notice and then deciding whether the case deserves any kind of relief or not. So depending on the timeline that the actor-businessman couple are looking at, perhaps their legal team will advise on any of these two routes.
Absolutely. Stay with us, Poonima. We also have Ananya Bhatnagar joining us now. Ananya, we've usually seen criticism coming in where people say that the judiciary usually goes a bit soft on celebrities, but in this case it's very clear that the Bombay High Court has taken a very stern view, asking the couple to deposit 60 crore rupees if they want to travel abroad.
Well, absolutely. And in fact, this is a kind of a surety that's being demanded of by the Bombay High Court as far as this travel for Shilpa Shetty and Raj Kundra is concerned. And, Bombay High Court has always been one of the strictest ones as far as celebrities are concerned. Because if you remember, in the case where Raj Kundra was accused of with regards to, those pornographic films, the Bombay High Court was the one that had denied, in fact, a bail for a very, very long time to Raj Kundra. And they had to come to the topmost court of the country, the Supreme Court, to actually secure any kind of a relief as far as the Raj Kundra is concerned. And yet again, the Bombay High Court giving a clear instruction that, if you want to travel, then deposit a sum of rupees 60 crores and then only you can travel as far as the direction from the Bombay High Court is concerned. But how would it play up, whether their legal team would be approaching the topmost court of the country or not, is something that we'll have to wait and watch for.
Absolutely. Yeah, we'll have to see what are the legal options that Raj Kundra and Shilpa Shetty will now explore in this particular case. But coming back to you, Ananya, with this kind of a view by the Bombay High Court, what are the options, as Arunima was suggesting? In fact, going back to Arunima, we have seen the agencies talking about Shilpa Shetty's role here as well. So there could be more trouble for the couple, not just LOC, but in terms of the...
And now it's time for Vantage shots, images that tell the story. Joe Biden surprises baseball fans with an appearance at the Phillies game. Northern Vietnam's streets remain submerged after Typhoon Matmo. And a protected jaguar with gunshot wounds was rescued from a Brazilian river. Finally, taking you back in history. On this day in 1932, the Indian Air Force was established. It was set up as an auxiliary unit of the British military. Until 1950, it was called the Royal Indian Air Force. But once India became a republic, the royal prefix was dropped. Leaving you on that note, thanks for watching. See you tomorrow.